"You weren't supposed to see this." That's what he said when I opened the door and found him with my own sister, hunched over my laptop. They didn't even try to close the tabs. My financial reports, my passwords, my contracts, all of it laid out like evidence at a crime scene, except the crime was theirs. My name is Darina. I'm 40, a financial strategist who learned long ago that silence is more powerful than shouting, especially when betrayal fills the room. For weeks, he'd been disappearing in the evenings, calling it training sessions. My sister kept messaging me every day, pretending to worry about my stress levels. Meanwhile, strange withdrawals kept appearing on my accounts, small at first, then large enough to threaten my entire business. And now, here they were, sitting at my laptop, planning the perfect theft. "She wouldn't notice," my sister whispered. "We're almost done. Another week and everything moves to us." Every sentence was another crack in the mask I'd been watching them wear. My father's missing will, open on the screen. A forged version of my signature under a loan agreement I never signed. And a folder labeled Asset Division after her departure. Departure? Where exactly did they think I was going? I hit record on my phone and simply stood there, quiet, still, letting them reveal themselves. They didn't know that earlier that morning, a letter I'd prepared weeks ago arrived at the notary's office, that my bank was already blocking every suspicious transaction, that the police had received a file from me containing screenshots, statements, and a month's worth of documented evidence. Because I had known, not the details, but the pattern. And I wasn't the kind of woman who waited helplessly. I waited strategically. When detectives finally walked through the doorway, he started shouting about miscommunication, as if the forged contracts in his handwriting were just clerical errors. My sister tried to cry, but her tears didn't match the way she clutched the flash drive full of my stolen documents. They were escorted out separately. I didn't touch a single thing. Everything was photographed, logged, sealed. Within 2 days, his business partners cut ties with him. My sister was fired for fraud. And without access to my accounts, their whole scheme collapsed instantly. Everything they built on deceit dissolved the moment truth stepped into the light. He called me afterward, begged me to listen, said he'd made a mistake, that they'd been confused, that none of it was meant to hurt me. I simply ended the call. People like them never expect the quiet one to be the one who already set the trap, already collected the evidence, already made peace with walking away. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't seek revenge. I just stepped aside and let their own decisions bury them. I don't destroy people. I let them finish what they started. The moment I walked into the room, I knew something was wrong. Not because of the silence, but because both of them froze like thieves caught mid-act, and their eyes went straight to the envelope in my hand, the one they thought I'd never find. Funny thing about betrayal, it never hides well. It leaks through whispers, through receipts, through the way people look at you when they think you're too trusting to notice. My name is Darina. I'm 40. And I'm not the woman they used to underestimate. I placed the envelope on the table without a word. He swallowed hard. My sister looked away. They knew exactly what was inside, the final piece of proof that tied every lie together. Weeks earlier, they had started acting strange. Late-night texts, unexpected trips, and the sudden, forced kindness they wrapped around me like cheap perfume. Then came the financial discrepancies, tiny amounts missing from accounts I checked daily, then larger ones, then a credit line I never opened, linked to an address I'd never lived at. And just like that, the pattern revealed itself. I didn't confront them immediately. I watched instead. I listened. I let them think they were winning. He told me he was working late. She told me she was worried about my mental state. But my instincts were sharper than their performance. The night everything snapped into place, I followed them. Not far, just enough to see them walk into the notary's office together, laughing, carrying my documents. Later, inside that envelope, I found a forged transfer agreement. My home, my assets, my investments, all rewritten in his name, with my sister listed as the witness. That was the moment I stopped hoping I was wrong and started preparing. Now, standing in the living room, I watched their hands shake as I slid the envelope open again, slowly, deliberately, letting fear settle into the space between us. "You weren't supposed to see that," he whispered. I smiled. That sentence was becoming familiar. "I saw everything," I said quietly, "and I kept every copy." He reached for my arm like I still belonged to him. I stepped back. He froze. He finally understood this wasn't a conversation, it was a verdict. My sister tried to speak, something about being manipulated, pressured, confused, but the excuses fell apart the moment the doorbell rang. Detectives. Right on time. His face drained of color. Her lips trembled. And still I felt nothing but clarity. They tried to talk over each other, trying to spin the story, grasping at lies that dissolved as soon as they left their mouths. But the officers weren't listening to them. They were listening to the recordings, the messages, the forged documents, and the video from the notary's hallway. Everything they built, every scheme they crafted, every word they whispered, it all folded under the weight of truth. As they were led out, he turned to me. "Darina, please, we can fix this." I stepped closer, my voice low, steady. "You broke something you never understood. You thought loyalty meant silence. You thought love meant blindness. You thought I'd never see what was right in front of me." He lowered his head, defeated. My sister whispered, "Why didn't you stop us earlier?" I looked her straight in the eyes. "Because I needed you to reveal yourselves completely, so when the fall came, there would be no way back." They both disappeared through the doorway, swallowed by the flashing lights outside. I didn't cry, not even later. Instead, I walked to the window, opened it, and let the night air wash over the house that was finally mine again. Not on paper, not in theory, but in truth. Some betrayals burn you, others illuminate the room, and sometimes the brightest moment of your life is when the wrong people walk out of it forever. I heard their voices before I saw them. Whispers, urgent, sharp. And then my name, spoken like a problem they needed to eliminate, not a woman they once pretended to love. I stepped closer to the half-closed door, and the words hit me like cold water. "She's signing the papers on Friday," he said. "Once she does, everything transfers automatically." "And you're sure she won't notice the missing funds?" my cousin replied. "She's smart, Darina. 40 or not, she's sharper than both of us." He exhaled. "She trusts me. That's the whole point." Trust. The one currency they thought I would never question. They didn't know I'd already seen the doctored spreadsheets. They didn't know I'd already traced the money to an account tied to her maiden name. They didn't know I had been building my case quietly, like someone stitching together a net they'd eventually fall into. I pushed the door fully open. Their faces drained instantly. Guilt always reveals itself before words do. "Talking about me?" I asked. They froze. He swallowed. She hid her phone behind her back, as if that would erase the messages already backed up to my cloud. He tried to smile. "Darina, this isn't—" "It is," I said. "Exactly what it looks like." His eyes flicked to hers, begging her to speak, to save him, to save them both. She tried. "We were just clarifying things." "Clarifying," I repeated slowly. Is that what you call forging my signature? Silence. Heavy. Accusatory. He stepped toward me. You're blowing this out of proportion. Funny how betrayers always want to control the scale of the damage. I pulled a small device from my pocket and placed it on the table. A recorder, still running. Their faces collapsed. You didn't. I did, I said. Every meeting, every whisper, every transaction. Her voice cracked. Darina, please, we were desperate. Desperation doesn't justify intention, and their intention was crystal clear. I watched them crumble as the truth wrapped itself around them like chains. He tried one last angle. Anger. You won't get away with this, he snapped. I already have, I replied, lifting my phone. This entire room is being streamed to my lawyer. He paled so fast I almost felt the temperature shift. I walked past them, calm, controlled, untouched by their chaos. They followed me into the hallway, begging, grasping, reaching for the version of me they thought would break. But I wasn't breaking. I was done. By the time the authorities arrived, their story had already changed 3 times, from denial to victimhood to panic. They didn't realize the evidence I held didn't need their cooperation. It only needed their fear to finish the picture. He was escorted out first, shouting that he could explain everything. She followed, trembling, whispering my name like a curse and a plea all at once. I didn't watch them leave. I didn't need to. I just stood at the window, the evening light stretching across the floor like a fresh beginning. My phone buzzed, a message from my lawyer. One of the cleanest cases I've seen. You acted in perfect timing. Timing. The one skill betrayal always underestimates. I locked my phone, exhaled slowly, and let the quiet settle over me. Not grief, not rage, just clarity. Because the truth is simple. Some people think they're pulling strings until they realize the entire time they were dancing in your trap. The moment he said my name, I knew he wasn't calling for help. He was calling because he got caught. Darina, we need to talk, he whispered, standing in the doorway like a man who had already lost. Then I saw it, the contract in his hand, my signature, except it wasn't mine. He didn't notice how tightly I was gripping the railing. He didn't hear my heartbeat shift, but he knew something was wrong. I can explain, he said. Every guilty person says that, and none of them ever actually explain anything. I stepped down the stairs slowly, watching him tremble. He wasn't afraid of losing me, he was afraid of losing what he tried to steal. The first hint came 2 months ago, a business investment he insisted was for our future. Then a bank statement missing funds I never moved. Then my accountant asking why I opened a second company behind my own back. A company registered under my name, my ID, my digital signature. Except I had never touched the paperwork. And now that forged contract in his hands matched the pattern perfectly. My name, my assets, his control. He tried to reach for me. I pulled back. He froze. You weren't supposed to see this yet, he said. Yet. That single word told me everything I needed to know. I walked past him into the living room where another surprise waited. My cousin, the one who always insisted she supported my success, sitting on the sofa with her laptop open. When she saw me, she slammed it shut, but not fast enough. On the screen was my financial dashboard, real-time access, my entire portfolio, and a hidden folder labeled Transition Plan Phase 2. She stood up too quickly. Darina, listen. I've been listening for months, I said. She went pale. He tried to jump in. She didn't know what she was doing. It was my idea. No, it wasn't, I said. The handwriting on the transfer forms is hers. She exhaled shakily. So you saw those too? Yes, I had seen everything, because I'd been watching quietly, gathering pieces, letting the whole puzzle reveal itself. You both really thought I wouldn't notice? I asked. He sank onto the armchair, defeated. We were only borrowing. It was temporary. Borrowing. Temporary. Words thieves use when they realize the door is locked behind them. I placed my phone on the table. Its screen lit up, recording, live streaming straight to my attorney. Their eyes widened. Fear finally settled in. You set us up, my cousin whispered. No, I said. You set yourselves up. I simply documented it. Just then, the notification chimed, the one I had been waiting for. My lawyer's voice through the speaker. Darina, everything is in place. Do you want me to proceed? I looked at them, his hands shaking, her eyes darting towards the back door like she could run from evidence. Yes, I said, proceed. She collapsed onto the sofa. He buried his face in his hands. Within minutes, their phones buzzed simultaneously. Frozen bank accounts, fraud alerts, legal summons. My cousin gasped. Darina, please, we're family. No, I said calmly. Family doesn't build escape plans using your name. He looked up at me with hollow desperation. We didn't mean to hurt you. You meant to replace me, I replied. He didn't deny it. That silence was the cleanest confession he'd ever given me. When the officers arrived, polite, firm, professional, neither of them fought. He walked out first, head low. She followed, whispering apologies that no longer mattered. I stood at the doorway, watching them disappear into the flashing lights. No anger, no sadness, just relief. For the first time in months, the house felt like mine again, quiet, honest, safe. The truth is simple. When people plot behind your back, they forget one thing. You're still ahead of them. He said my name like it was a warning, not a greeting. Darina, stop. Don't open that folder. Too late. I had already clicked, and the screen filled with documents I was never supposed to see, all signed with my name and none of them signed by me. My hands didn't shake. His did. He tried to block the screen with his body, but I stepped around him, calm, silent, watching him fall apart without raising my voice. He wasn't alone. From the hallway, my aunt appeared, clutching her purse like a shield. She froze when she saw me reading the documents. Loan approvals, account transfers, property claims, all forged. You weren't meant to find those, she whispered. I looked at her. You say that like it helps. 2 months earlier, strange letters began arriving at my house. Debt notices for accounts I never opened, approvals for loans I never requested, warnings about missed payments under an address I'd never lived at. He called it a bank error. She called it clerical confusion. I called it what it was, the beginning of a very sloppy heist. The first real clue appeared when my credit score dropped 30 points overnight. The second, when the bank manager asked why I needed another mortgage in a different city. The third, when I saw security footage of a woman wearing a wig that looked exactly like my hair, signing paperwork with my ID. I didn't confront them then. I waited. I watched the pattern form. Now, standing here, everything was out in the open. Aunt Lena's voice cracked. Darina, we can fix this. Don't make this harder. You already made it hard, I said. You just didn't expect me to notice. My partner stepped toward me, palms open, pretending he was still the trustworthy man I once believed in. He said we were desperate. It was supposed to be temporary. Temporary. The favorite lie of thieves. I pulled out my phone. Not to call anyone, but to let them hear the audio file playing. His voice. Clear, calm, calculated. Once everything transfers, she won't even know until we're already out. Lena handles the signatures, I handle the accounts. 3 months and she's left with nothing. Aunt Lena grabbed at the table for balance. You recorded us? No, I said. You recorded yourselves. I just retrieved it. The confusion on their faces lasted 2 seconds until I showed them the home security footage, my hidden camera, their whispers, their entire plan unfolding right in my living room. He looked sick, She looked betrayed by her own stupidity. "You can't use that," he hissed. "It's already been used," I said. "My lawyer sent it to the bank this morning." His face drained completely. I walked to the front door and opened it. They heard the footsteps before they saw them, the quiet, firm approach of professionals who don't waste time. He shook his head desperately. "Dorina, don't do this, please. We can pay you back." "You never stole money," I said. "You stole my trust, and there's no refund for that." Aunt Lena stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "We're family." "And that," I said softly, "is what makes this unforgivable." The officers entered the house, polite but efficient. They asked for his name first, then hers. Neither resisted. That was the thing about people who build their lives on lies. Once the truth arrives, their strength disappears. He looked at me one last time as they let him out, not with anger, with disbelief, like he truly thought I'd watch them empty my life and still forgive them. When the door closed, the house felt larger, quieter, finally mine again. My lawyer called minutes later. "Dorina, everything you provided is airtight. They won't get far." "I know," I said, because I had prepared every step long before they realized I knew. Some people think betrayal is about breaking trust. They forget that betrayal also reveals character, theirs, not mine. And the truth is simple. When you try to erase a woman like me, don't be surprised when I redraw the whole picture without you.